Not all relationships are perfect. Though many of them may look nice on the outside, many of them can also turn out to be quite toxic. Same goes for celebrity relationships. Though we may praise our favorite couples and the media may report only the best parts of their relationship, things can always be different behind the scenes. Today, let's count down the top 10 celebrities in toxic relationships. At number 10, Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber. I remember when Selena and Justin were the talk of the town. Everyone was obsessed with their relationship, asking them questions about it, whether they were together on the red carpet or alone on a shopping trip. They started dating in 2011 when they were still teenagers, and from that point, they had a rocky time together. They were on and off again for a while before finally ending things for good in 2018 when Hailey Baldwin came along. Already, people were aware of how toxic Selena and Justin's relationship was, simply because of how many times they had public breakups and makeups. But in early 2020, Selena came forward to talk more in depth about their relationship and how she experienced mistreatment. Selena said that she was, quote, a victim of certain abuse, saying that what she felt was emotional mistreatment from Justin. She also went on to say that it took her a long time to find strength in her experiences and to shake her, quote, victim mentality. Justin never released a statement in response, but in late 2019, he did open up about his actions in past relationships, saying that he became, quote, resentful and disrespectful to women and angry. We don't know at which point this started happening in their relationship, but it's good to see that they are both doing better since moving on. At number 9, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, having a list of toxic celebrity relationships, you already know we're going to include Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's tumultuous relationship. A lot was uncovered during their massive court case last year that basically exposed Amber for having hurt Johnny while they were together. We heard stories about Amber severing Johnny's finger with a glass bottle, many of the fights they had, and even recordings of Amber antagonizing and hurting Johnny. There were instances of physical abuse as well as verbal and emotional, showing the world how toxic things really were. We found out about how Amber had been cheating on Johnny and how she allegedly went out of her way to outshine him in their industry, always being ready to make big headlines to overshadow him. When one of the recordings showing Amber admitting to hurting her husband were released, it said that it, quote, exposes that Ms. Heard perpetrated serial violence against Mr. Depp. This went on for far too long, showing us that the toxicity ran deep and it made a mess of everything. At number 8, Tina and Ike Turner. Ike and Tina Turner were a powerhouse couple in the eyes of the media as well as fans, but behind the scenes things were very messy and toxic. They first met while Tina was still a teenager and they soon hit it off and started performing together. Soon their duo catapulted them to stardom, bringing them a lot of success, but because they were so close, things got very toxic. They got married in 1962 and stayed together for the following decade, but Tina was living her life in pain. In her book, Tina wrote about how Ike was an abusive partner, saying, quote, he threw hot coffee in my face, giving me third-degree burns. He used my nose as a punching bag so many times that I could taste blood running down my throat when I sang. He broke my jaw and I couldn't remember what it was like to not have a black eye, end quote. Things got so bad that Tina wanted to end her life, but thankfully she survived her attempt, and she used her survival as fuel to get the strength to leave Ike and this toxic life behind. They eventually went their separate ways, with Tina becoming a bigger star and becoming an advocate, raising awareness about abuse. At number 7, Emma Roberts and Evan Peters. American Horror Story stars Emma Roberts and Evan Peters had a very tumultuous relationship that unfolded in the public eye. Though they both moved on, there was a time when their toxic relationship took over their lives. They started dating in 2012 and they had their share of makeups, breakups, ups and downs until they officially ended things in 2019. Their relationship had its faults. People said that their attitudes towards each other would change a lot, going from having a lovely time together to not speaking to one another for days. Sources also said that while working together on American Horror Story, they would make life on set a living hell. An insider revealed that, quote, as soon as the director yells cut, Emma and Evan are making out. That is, if they're not screaming at each other, end quote. In 2013, they had an abuse scandal after Emma was arrested on domestic charges after the couple got into a heated argument. Though the incident left Evan with a bloody nose, they tried to move past it and carry on with their relationship. They weren't at all a good couple, and it's best that they are no longer together. At number 6, Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna. One toxic relationship that was broadcast to the world was that between Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna. Though the relationship was pretty short-lived, things were still messy, toxic, and very public. The two got together in January 2016, and just a few months later in April of that year, they announced their engagement. Fast forward to November of 2016, and they welcomed their daughter Dream into the world. Things ended as quickly as they started, and by February of 2017, they announced that they had split after trying to make things work for the sake of their daughter. During their relationship, they showed fans a glimpse into their lives as part of their reality show Rob and Chyna. During this time, sources said that they fought a lot, and their actions were fueled by anger and revenge, and there were even allegations of domestic violence. This toxicity wasn't just exclusive to their relationship, however, as it also bled into the Kardashian family as well. They've been going head to head in legal battles, and things have just been rocky ever since, showing that sometimes people really aren't meant to be together. At number 5, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Brangelina used to be one of the hottest celebrity matches in Hollywood. Once upon a time, they were seen as the industry's it couple, having spanned over 10 years and raising many kids together, but their divorce is where things got toxic and messy. When the couple announced they were calling it quits in 2016, a lot of people wondered why, and one of the answers given was because of a dispute that Brad had allegedly had with Angelina about his substance abuse that resulted in Brad getting into an altercation with their oldest son, Maddox. It was alleged that Brad was abusive, and though an investigation cleared him of said allegations, Angie is now saying that she's prepared to show proof that Brad was in fact hurting his family. Recently, Angelina came forward saying that she is willing to offer her children's testimony against Brad as proof, and this could blow the doors off their relationship, giving us more information about how toxic things really were. At number 4, Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. With the recent divorce announcement from Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, we are finding out more about the demise of their marriage. It turns out they felt that their relationship was crumbling towards the end of last year, and the couple decided to seek different living arrangements, spending time apart as a result of, quote, downright toxicity in their marriage. Though they said they wanted to make things work, according to sources, it reached a point where, quote, bickering turned into nasty blow-ups and confrontations, end quote. They didn't want to expose their kids to this kind of negativity, and they took some time apart, but that time apart is looking to be a lot longer now. After Kanye reportedly blew up at Kim, they were never able to patch things up after that, and so they filed for divorce. Before all of this happened, they seemed to have been on good terms as they supported one another through every bump in the road, but in recent months, their support and good conversation turned cold and apparently evolved into them only speaking when necessary and only talking about menial things like what to have for dinner. I'm wishing them all the best in the days to come as they sort out their affairs. At number 3, Eminem and Kim Mathers. When asked about some toxic relationships they know of, a surprising amount of people reference rapper Eminem and his ex-wife Kim Mathers. Eminem, whose real name is Marshall Mathers, met Kim in a youth home in 1988 when they were teenagers. From that point, they stayed by each other's side, even living together at his mother's home. From that point until 1999, the two had a rocky relationship, being on and off again. And in 1995, they had a daughter, and later on, they got married. Their wedding took place on June 14, 1999, just before Marshall's first major tour as his career was taking off. Kim said that this tour took the greatest toll on their marriage, saying, quote, when Marshall's tour first started is when his ego went poof. Like he was a god. That's what he thought. I was just told that I should be grateful that he still talks to me. You know how many women throw themselves at him, and I pretty much felt like a piece of crap, end quote. From then, their marriage went downhill as they were met with cheating scandals and mental health struggles. Eventually, they got a divorce in 2000, remarried in 2006, then divorced again, this time ending things for good. They're reportedly still friends, but being in a romantic relationship just was too toxic for them. At number 2, Mel Gibson and Oksana Grigorieva. Mel Gibson is probably one of the most hated people in Hollywood. I think it's safe to make that assumption after all the scandals he's been in surrounding his hate for so many people. Mel has been in a toxic relationship before, and many of us are aware of the horrible ways he's treated people, especially his former partner, Oksana Grigorieva. The two had a very messy breakup in 2010, and at this time, an audio recording came out that showed Mel yelling at Oksana and saying horrible things to her about her body because he was mad that she allegedly lied to him about having breast implants. In the recording, Mel was heard saying horrible things about how he hated the way she looked, claiming she looked provocative and inappropriate, and even saying that if she were to be taken advantage of, it would be her fault for looking the way she did. This was a nasty, swear word-ridden rant that honestly no one deserves to hear. If this recording didn't paint enough of a toxic picture, then I don't know what would. And finally, at number 1, Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Back in the late 80s, Mike Tyson was dating model Robin Givens. Shortly after they started dating, Robyn announced that she was pregnant with Mike's child, and so he married her to, quote, do the right thing. Mike had given Robyn and her mother $15 million in order to get themselves settled in a nice house, and it seemed like Mike took care of them. But after a few months passed, Mike noticed that Robyn's pregnancy wasn't progressing, and that's when she told him that she actually had lost the baby months prior and just didn't tell him. He was hurt by this discovery but still stayed by her side. It wasn't until their famous Barbara Walters interview came out that things really cracked for the couple and things got toxic. The interview was originally supposed to be an exclusive with Mike, but apparently just before getting started, Robyn pulled Barbara aside to tell her that she had some things she wanted to say, and then proceeded to speak out about how Mike had allegedly been hurting her, saying that she was being mistreated in the relationship. They soon divorced after, but people believe that the whole truth wasn't uncovered. Sources say that Robyn was manipulating Mike and that things had been toxic because of her, but Mike just let it happen. It's confusing and messy, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
At number 10, Chris Brown and Rihanna. One of the most toxic relationships out there was that between Chris Brown and Rihanna. No one is quick to forget that incident that happened after the pre-Grammys party in 2009. Though they were seen as the industry's it couple, things were far from perfect and were clearly very negative and toxic. On the night before the Grammy Awards, Chris and Rihanna got into a serious physical altercation which left Rihanna hospitalized from her injuries. Chris was labeled as a monster for what he did that night. A police investigation was conducted and Chris pled guilty to felony assault. As a result, he was sentenced to 5 years probation and 6 months community service. A lot of people believe that he should have been given a harsher sentence because of how severely he hurt his girlfriend, but what do you guys think? Did he deserve more punishment or did he get what he deserved? At number 9, Mariah Carey and James Packer. Apparently, Mariah Carey is a horrible person. In the past, we've heard stories from people who've worked with the singer saying how she is so mean behind the scenes, but apparently the same goes in her romantic relationships as well. Yeah, maybe all she wants for Christmas is you, but at what cost? According to some sources, her relationship with James Packer was the most toxic. She allegedly treated him like garbage, even throwing his personal items, including his laptop, out of the window, all because he played a Beyonce song. Their relationship ended just before they were set to get married because she, quote, wasn't happy with his behavior, but James' management fired back, claiming that Mariah was twisting things. Bottom line is that things were toxic and needed to end. At number 8, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. I couldn't imagine the pressure of being an A-list star. The public's eyes are always on you, from your everyday outings to your love life. Having a relationship must also be very difficult when you're famous because everyone feels entitled to having an opinion on your love life. When one of Hollywood's biggest stars, Marilyn Monroe, got married to Joe DiMaggio, it was a very big deal. Everyone thought that the actress and the athlete looked like a beautiful match who were deeply in love, having met and married within a relatively short amount of time. Really, at the time, they were hashtag relationship goals. They got married in a quiet City Hall ceremony in January 1954 and turned a work trip to Japan into their honeymoon as they had to squeeze their special day in between work engagements. But just 9 months later, their spark had faded and their relationship was over. The problem was that Joe allegedly wanted Marilyn to be a stay-at-home wife, but because Marilyn was at the height of her career and she loved her work, she wouldn't agree to that and she just wanted to keep working. Joe also apparently had a hard time coming to terms with his wife's public image, being a Hollywood idol, and apparently her famous subway gate scene was the last straw for him. Their marriage ended with Marilyn citing mental cruelty as one of the reasons behind their divorce because of how toxic things had become. She didn't like how her husband refused to support her, and that's just not the kind of energy she needed in her life. At number 7, Kate Moss and Pete Doherty. There are many ways that a relationship can be toxic. It can be more one-sided or it can be mutual. Kate Moss and Pete Doherty's relationship was one that was toxic from both sides. Though they were engaged at some point, they still had their problems. In an interview, Pete once said that with Kate he was, quote, always dodging bullets. He claimed that Kate had a bad temper, saying that she once accused him out of the blue of having an affair and then verbally and physically assaulted him. On the other hand, Kate had a big problem with Pete's substance abuse, demanding that he quit, but also taunting him with substances of her own. They were an on and off again couple who really just weren't good for each other. They kept going back to each other until around 2007, where they decided to stay apart for good. And it was a very toxic situation, but their breakup was probably for the best. At number 6, Saweetie and Quavo. No one really acknowledged it until recently, but singer Saweetie and rapper Quavo had a very toxic relationship. The pair recently announced their breakup, and though it started off looking like a simple case of two people growing apart, soon the public found out that there was more to the story than once thought. Shortly after announcing their breakup, footage was leaked which showed the former couple fighting in an elevator. The footage showed the two of them in a physical altercation, showing Saweetie trying to strike Quavo, a suitcase being thrown, Quavo falling on top of his girlfriend, and ending with Saweetie limping away. Though this footage was from a year ago, it gave people a different perspective on how their relationship was at the time. Their problems were only just now publicized and sort of exposed the two of them for being toxic. Both Saweetie and Quavo have said that they've moved on from this incident, and Quavo issued a statement assuring that he's never abused his girlfriend. Their breakup has caused some drama within Quavo's family, making this a very toxic situation. At number 5, Luann and Tom D'Agostino. Nothing says toxic like reality TV. Everything on those shows are incredibly toxic, so to have one feature a toxic relationship wouldn't really be much of a surprise. Real Housewives of New York cast members Luann and Tom D'Agostino were once a couple whose poor relationship was broadcast to the world. Apparently, everyone in the cast knew about how toxic things were, and some of them actually warned Luann about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still pining after his ex. This complicated things, but they still carried on with their relationship, and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. Towards the end of the show's 8th season, it was revealed that one of the Real Housewives cast members had photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luann's engagement party. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious troubles in their relationship. Luann and Tom even got into a heated argument in public at a restaurant, which ended with Luann slapping Tom across the face. This toxic relationship and Tom's constant infidelity was never resolved until the very end. They were only married for 7 months, and those were probably some of the most toxic 7 months of their lives. At number 4, Axl Rose and Erin Everly. Moving on to a toxic relationship from the rock world, we have the tumultuous relationship of Axl Rose and Erin Everly. Their relationship was very publicized and is one that is certainly ingrained in the rock world. The two met at a party in 1986 while Axl, the frontman for Guns N' Roses, was still an up-and-coming musician, and the two formed an instant connection. Erin quickly became one of the most important people in Axl's life, becoming the inspiration for the song Sweet Child of Mine. Despite being a beloved and good-looking match on the outside, they actually had a very toxic relationship, but that didn't stop them from getting married in 1990 in a Las Vegas ceremony. The toxicity started even before they were married because, according to Erin, Axl allegedly threatened to harm himself if she didn't marry him, so already things were off to a pretty rocky start. Their marriage didn't really last very long, as it was annulled in 1991, just 9 months after getting married. Fast forward to 1994, and Erin filed a civil suit against Axl where she alleged that she had been a victim of citing Axl as her attacker. Things have been messy since their split, as Erin has auctioned off memorabilia that she had kept from her days with Axl and the band, looking to rid herself of any trace of her old ties with them, showing us that things really were quite toxic back then. At number 3, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor was one of Hollywood's most memorable icons. Though she was incredibly successful in her professional life, her love life was not. Because she was married 8 times, she had some regrettable relationships, and some of them caused scandals, but others were just downright toxic. One of her shortest and most toxic marriages was to hotel heir Conrad Hilton. The pair were only married for 205 days before getting their marriage annulled after feeling neglected and abused by her new husband. This was her first marriage, as she was only 18 at the time of her wedding, but shortly after they tied the knot, Liz started to notice how indifferent Conrad was to her, recalling how she would feel hurt by the abusive language her husband was using towards her. During their honeymoon, the two also reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together. So things were off to a rough start from the very beginning. Eventually, Liz saw that nothing was going to change with Conrad, and so she made the steps towards ending their marriage. Liz ended up winning her divorce on the grounds of mental cruelty. She also refused alimony and took back her maiden name. Essentially, she erased any connection she had to Conrad, almost pretending like it never happened. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was naive, and so she regretted her decision to marry him in the first place. At number 2, Jennifer Lopez and Ojani Noa. Jennifer Lopez has been in her fair share of high-profile relationships. She's even been married 3 times. Now, although those marriages didn't really work out, they ended on okay-ish terms, except for her marriage to Ojani Noa, because that ish was just toxic. Their marriage lasted less than a year, but their relationship after their divorce was where things got super toxic. Ojani was seemingly only in the relationship to reap the benefits of being with a celebrity. He spent the time that they were together documenting much of his life with her, as well as her habits behind the scenes, preparing them for his own tea spill, if you will. This relationship was doomed from the start, but J-Lo just didn't see that until it was too late. I mean, you would think that your partner isn't trying to use you for money and clout, so why would you really be expecting that? After their divorce, Noah tried leaking intimate photos and videos of the couple on their honeymoon, and he even had plans to release a tell-all book about the singer. It was almost like he was a behind-the-scenes paparazzi. J-Lo actually ended up suing Ojani in 2009 for $10 million, citing that the videos he released, as well as the book and movie deals, violated an agreement that they had which prohibited him from exposing the singer's life. That is some very toxic behavior. Using someone for your own personal gain is never a good thing. Finally, at number 1, Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson. Recently, actress Evan Rachel Wood came forward about her extremely toxic relationship with singer Marilyn Manson, as she cited years of manipulation, brainwashing, and pain, outing the singer as her abuser. She opened up about some of the things that she endured and witnessed, like starvation, sleep deprivation, threats, invasion of privacy, as well as anti-Semitism and racism. Sometimes this toxicity would bleed into other people's lives, as Wood alleged that Manson made threats against her loved ones as well. Manson's toxicity was apparent even after their relationship ended, as he said in an interview shortly after their relationship ended that he tried calling Evan while harming himself and then blamed her for his actions, saying, quote, "I wanted to show her the pain she put me through. It was like, I want you to physically see what you've done." Like, that is very disgusting behavior, and it hurts my soul to know that anyone has ever experienced this kind of behavior. From enduring verbal and physical violence, Evan has now spoken out about her experiences, and Manson has lost everything. As a result of the allegations against him, he was dropped by his music label and agent and is under investigation by the LA Sheriff's Department. The actress also condemned the music industry and his label for covering up the many instances of abuse, saying that they were aware of the circumstances behind the scenes. Evan also isn't the only person to come forward with similar allegations. Now the fight for justice is on, and we are hoping for the best for Evan, as well as everyone who bravely came forward and those still healing from the trauma. At number 10, Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears. Justin Timberlake was exposed this year after the truth came out about his toxic relationship and breakup with Britney Spears back in the early 2000s. The Framing Britney Spears documentary that was released recently looks into the way the pop star was shown in the media, from paparazzi to interviews, and it dives deep into how this stardom affected her. A big part of the documentary explores Justin Timberlake's role in the media's mistreatment of Britney. After their relationship ended, Justin made Britney look like a villain in the relationship, accusing her of cheating and essentially weaponizing their breakup to boost his career. The media then went on a frenzy, blaming and shaming her when she really didn't deserve it. People's eyes were opened into just how toxic their relationship and subsequent breakup was, and a lot of sympathy has been given towards Britney as the truth has finally come out about the whole thing. For a long time, people saw the pop star as the villain, but now we've learned that she was really just a victim of a toxic relationship. At number 9, Ariel Winter. Modern Family star Ariel Winter has had a toxic relationship with her family, and things were so toxic, in fact, that she was emancipated from them. Her family drama was outed as the court hearing for her emancipation trial went public back in 2012, and it showed the public how she was treated, specifically by her mother. It was alleged that Ariel's mom interfered with her daughter's work because of her, quote, harassment and interference. There were reports of her mom not feeding Ariel and dressing her in a way that was inappropriate for someone her age. It was also reported that Ariel's mom had repeatedly laid hands on her child as well. There were a number of testimonies that painted a toxic image of Ariel's family, and she was eventually granted emancipation after a 3-year battle. Some of the most heartbreaking toxic relationships are those between family, because they're the ones who are supposed to love you the most, but they can also hurt you the most. At number 8, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much toxic drama happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship had been intense for a long time, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world learned just how toxic it was. After dating for less than a year, the two got married in the 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later, there came an incident that shattered their relationship. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought, and it all ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was later arrested for battery and domestic violence, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview after the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation.
You know, I knew that he was lying, and I told him, I never forget telling him, I said, I'm not sticking by you through this. I don't care if my marriage is the laughing stock.
And the two eventually went their separate ways. Overall, the relationship burnt out really quickly, but it was fueled by toxicity, and in the end, no one really deserves to have that in their lives. At number 7, Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose. Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose were married for some time after tying the knot in 2013, but after 14 months of marriage, things got toxic, they divorced, and it was a nasty breakup. There were allegations of cheating, and custody of their son was also up for debate. Years later, Amber Rose opened up about her brief marriage to Wiz Khalifa and the toxicity around it, and spoke about her regrets concerning their relationship. She once said how she regretted getting married when she did because they didn't give themselves enough time to grow in their relationship, and this was one of the things that contributed to the hostility. Amber also said that she felt as though they would have had more success in their marriage had they gotten married later in life, calling their wedding a mistake at the time. They took some time and have grown to be friends, so maybe this toxicity has been forgotten about by them, but not so much by their longtime fans. At number 6, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. Here we have yet another toxic Kardashian relationship. In one of my previous videos, I talked about how Kim and Kanye's relationship was toxic, but here's another one that contained a bombshell cheating scandal. Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson have had a very difficult relationship. Things were apparently toxic from the very beginning, since it was believed that Tristan was cheating on his ex with Khloe when they first got together, so the infidelity in their relationship was apparent from the get-go. Things were going pretty okay for a while, with Khloe even getting pregnant with Tristan's baby, but in April 2018, just shortly after their daughter True was born, photos of Tristan appearing to cheat were leaked, and TMZ even leaked footage from 2017 showing Tristan kissing women at a club. This was a huge deal, especially as this all came out around the birth of their daughter, but what surprised a lot of people is how quickly Khloe got over it. Things mostly died down after a few weeks, but later in 2019, more cheating allegations came out, detailing how he had been cheating on Khloe again, this time with their longtime family friend Jordyn Woods. This was supposedly the nail in their relationship's coffin, but now in 2021, there have been reports saying Khloe and Tristan are back together, and that Khloe has mostly gotten over his infidelity. This doesn't look good and really just looks like a toxic mess, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with them. At number 5, Beyonce and Jay-Z. Even though they are one of the industry's most famous couples, that doesn't mean they aren't toxic. Though Queen Bey and Jay-Z are seen by many as a Hollywood power couple, they have also had their troubles and toxicity, and they seem to have started back in 2014. It all started when Solange and Jay-Z got into that big elevator fight at the Met. For a long time, no one really knew what the reason was for this brawl. Some thought it was money, others thought it was family drama, but apparently it was because he had been confronted about an alleged affair he was having with his former business partner's ex-wife. Though no one really acknowledged or spoke about this apparent infidelity, things started to get even more toxic in 2016 after Beyonce released her album Lemonade, where she made several subtle and not so subtle comments on her husband's alleged affair. Of course, instead of talking about it in private, Jay-Z instead released his own album in response, where he apologized to his wife for his infidelity and addressed some of the issues in their relationship. After all of this music drama, the two of them were able to work through their differences and have sought out couples therapy to rebuild their bond. No one knows if this scandal still hangs over their head and if that toxicity is still there, but at least they're trying to work through it civilly. At number 4, Tana Mongeau and Kourtney Kerrigan. Social media feuds can often bring out the most toxic relationships. Even though they have reportedly been friends for some time, influencers Tana Mongeau and Kourtney Kerrigan have been caught in a feud after Cole alleged that Tana hacked his social media accounts and tried to sue him for $100,000. Cole called Tana out after sharing a screenshot of a cease and desist text that he was allegedly sent by Tana's lawyer. The text he received essentially warned Cole that he was in violation of a contract that he had signed with Tana and that a breach of contract would subject him to pay $100,000. The contract in question, a non-disclosure agreement, is one that Tana allegedly has her circle of friends sign each year, and so now Cole is apparently in trouble after one of his social media posts violated the terms of said contract. Cole has also claimed that Tana hired someone to hack his social media accounts, where they were then able to delete a number of his his account, like his YouTube channel and Twitter account. Cole has also claimed that Tana has kicked him out of her house, used him for free makeup services, and would even go through his personal belongings when he wasn't home. Even friends who seem happy on the surface clearly have their dark, toxic secrets as well. At number 3, Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have been the talk of the town ever since their bombshell Oprah interview, and they've been scrutinized for a lot of what they spoke about. One of the biggest things that people have taken away from their interview was their toxic relationship with the royal family. According to sources, one of the most strained relationships is that between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton. Meghan and Kate have reportedly been on poor terms for quite a long time, with some sources saying that they haven't spoken to each other in over a year. A lot of people say that things are toxic between the two of them, and this narrative was heightened because of the interview. During the interview, Meghan addressed the public's view on her feud with Kate over Princess Charlotte's dress at Meghan's wedding, saying that Kate made her cry over it. Though they eventually patched things up and Kate apologized, they haven't spoken to each other much, and because of the feud between their husbands, it's added even more strain to their relationship. The royal family clearly has a lot of drama going on these days, and even one of the world's most famous families can have its toxicity. Hopefully, Meghan and Kate can one day patch things up for the sake of being rid of this negative energy. At number 2, Cardi B and Offset. Rappers Cardi B and Offset have had a rocky and toxic relationship. Though they've been together for some time now and they have a daughter together, that doesn't mean that their relationship is all sunshine and rainbows. There have really been a few times where their behavior has opened up a lot of fans' eyes and have labeled their relationship as toxic. Rumors have been a part of their relationship for a while, the most common rumor being about cheating. In September of 2020, Cardi actually filed for divorce from Offset after rumors started circulating that he had cheated on his wife and he had actually gotten another woman pregnant during that time. Fast forward a month to October 2020 and the relationship was patched up after Offset bought Cardi a $300,000 car and a billboard dedicated to her. When Cardi took him back, that's when the internet started talking about how toxic their relationship really was. People were honestly very surprised that Cardi took Offset back even after everything he did to her, with some adding that Offset was using guilt and emotional manipulation to keep her in his life. In response to some fans' comments, Cardi defended her relationship, saying that it wasn't toxic as everyone believes and that she is not in an abusive relationship. Does the fact that she's defending her husband make you think that they are in fact toxic or just misunderstood? Let me know down in the comments. Finally, at number 1, Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick. The Kardashians have seen their fair share of toxic relationships, obviously, but out of all of them, Kourtney and Scott's relationship has to be one of, if not the most toxic. Kourtney and Scott have been on and off again since 2006, and even though they've broken up so many times, they can't seem to distance themselves from each other enough. The pair co-parent their 3 kids, but they also cause a lot of drama whether or not they are together. But they've never been completely out of each other's lives, since Scott is also part of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians lineup. Because they've been through so much together, fans continue to ship them, but really, we shouldn't be romanticizing their toxic relationship. In the past, Scott has cheated on Kourtney, and even when they were broken up, has said that he's dated other women, specifically those much younger than him, only to make Kourtney jealous. Kourtney and Scott also struggled with Scott's substance abuse problem, with Kourt once going so far as to tell Scott that if he didn't get help, she wouldn't allow him to see their kid, and for a long time, Scott refused to get help. Things finally ended for good in 2015 when Scott was accused of cheating with one of his exes, and Kourtney just had enough of his infidelity. From that point, they haven't been in an official relationship, but they haven't kept their distance either. Kourtney has made comments about having another kid with Scott even though they aren't together, and Scott has been very vocal about how heartbroken he is to see Kourt in a new relationship. Bottom line here is that they are toxic and that we have to stop giving in to them. Alright friends, that is it for me. I've been your host, Brie Room, and until next time, stay safe, be kind, and stay groovy, friends.